The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. CBR Street Gang, this is Almighty. Standing by, over.
Hey there, seeing as there's quite a few of you that are chatting in YouTube, can you let me know if the microphone sounds okay? I did have to make some changes, so you need to know if it is coming through properly. I do have the stream going out to X as well, and they did change the interface there. And I believe I've heard that people are not having as much of a problem chatting on live streams on X, so you'll have to let me know there as well. That is, if you can hear me. Okay, so it appears that everyone can hear me okay. Oops. Let's see. Live chat has changed a bit on X here. And okay, so you guys can hear me okay. Excellent. We're going to get rolling here in just a moment. Of course, I will turn down the music. And we're going to jump into the charts. And we're going to talk about Ords today a little bit. Just some technical stuff. Just things that I do believe that are relevant to bring up because there is a bit of a... there's going to be a little bit of an online fight happening here pretty soon, I suspect. So we'll see. All right, so we do have quite a bit of people jumping in here as people are aware of the live stream here. So I'm going to start fading the music down and then we'll get started shortly, but can't chat on X. Tried the browser and the app. Have you tried recently? They've changed the interface there and it pops up a little bit differently. Doesn't just automatically start creating hearts when you click on the screen. There's a little chat box down the bottom now. You click on that and you can chat. I don't really know what the issue was. I've had people tell me that two people on the same Wi-Fi using the same devices, one person could log in to the chat on X and the other one couldn't. That's actually not something I can control, as far as I know. All right, let's fade this music out as people are hopping on. We are going to get started. You will have to forgive me today. I'm still a little under the weather from taking my son to his surgery and then spending time at the hospital with him while he was recovering there. I caught a pretty bad cold. So I do apologize about my voice, any coughing, sneezing, and all that good stuff ahead of time. Let me go ahead and yes, for those that are asking, he is doing good. He is home recovering, and he will continue to be home and recover from home for a little while longer. But yeah, everything's good. I appreciate those of you that are asking about it. So, all right, let's jump into this as the timer rolls over because I missed it. We're going to go ahead and stop that timer. And let's jump into the actual live stream here. Again, we are going to be talking about Bitcoin, the bounce here, which is, a not insignificant bounce, but we're also going to be talking about Ords a little bit as well from the technical aspect and go from there. Hello and welcome to Landy's Crypto Corner for a Friday live stream. Today is, what is today? Today is May 3rd, May 5th? What, 3rd? What is today? Oh, Jesus. It's the 3rd, not the 5th. I don't know what I'm doing here. We're going to have to edit that. Let's go ahead and actually see if I can do that here. No, it's not going to let me edit it. Great. But for those we're living in the future. That's how we're going to put it. We are living in Sunday, and we are going to be talking about Sunday's closure. So why not just label it the 5th? I am, as I said, under the weather. And and I apparently did not know what today's date was. So that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin's daily here on Friday, the 3rd of the 5th month. And we can see that the last time that we spoke, at least in recorded format, and then and then the following live stream on Wednesday, um, Bitcoin was pushing down to supports. The recorded video, I don't believe it had broke down yet. But I'd said in the recorded video and on Wednesday's live stream that if Bitcoin does close a daily and higher term time frame below 58.8, I'm more it would be more likely that we see some lower price action, if and only if Bitcoin did not reclaim the 58.8 monthly here and then subsequently reclaim, which it has not done yet. It has to close the candle above here, this 61,350 October monthly close. So that is where, on the live stream, I had mentioned that Bitcoin is, it's still in the relatively, relatively close to the meme pullback number. And that meme pullback number is the 20 to 22% that Bitcoin had been pulling back since the macro low was set in 2022. So it's kind of fitting that 2022, and it was doing 20 to 22% pullbacks the entire way through 2023 and now into 2024. Now, this is not always going to remain true. I mean, this still is not out of the woods yet. I will let you know that even if it does break above 61,350, that does raise our targets though. But we did get a 23.5% on some charts, a 24.5 to 25% pullback. You can still consider it part of the meme if you like, but it is basically on par with what Bitcoin has been doing in the past. And, we did see expansion to the downside, but what you'll note is it's more of a rollover expansion. It's not an impulsive expansion. So what should we be looking out for next? I'd mentioned that if we did see the meme pull back and for it to be valid, we would need to see it pull down to, $56,000 to $58,000. That was the area that I was looking for. The low has so far come in at, the swing low. And what's threatening to be a closing low here, as long as it closes anywhere above 60,800 or so, then Bitcoin, basically fulfilled our initial downside targets there between $56,000 and $58,000, which was something that I talked about prior to this happening. Was a swing down below. What do we want to see? We want to see a reclaim of 58, but more importantly, 58.8 to 61,350. We need to see the top side monthly taken out. So basically, as it stands right now, this is a daily swing below the monthly and quarterly at 58.8, which is coming in from March of 2021. Now, if we do see a reclaim of the daily lower first and this 61,350 by close of today, it will set, as I said, a swing low and a closing low. There is no in trend bullish divergence though. So I do want to point out that there is historical bullish divergence, and some of you may know that as a hidden bull div, and this is coming back from the $50,000 area. And is it valid? Yes, but it's only really valid for continuation of a current trend. And in this case, we have a daily downtrend. So I don't put a lot of weight on it. I do want to see daily bullish divergence, but daily bullish divergence is really only going to happen if we see a lower low and a higher low on RSI. So what I'm going to be looking for is any kind of push up past the subsequent lows, right? We got a low on the daily here coming in at that 61,300, right around the monthly at 61,350. We've got the $62,000 low over here. We've got a couple lows up here at 65.5, and this isn't really a low. It didn't lock that low in, but we have another one here at 63,800. So if Bitcoin does close above the lower first and 61,350 at the monthly, I would be raising my target somewhere around the basis, which just so happens to be right around this low over here, which is a higher low. We had some lower lows come in Not really. This was just a low and then a higher low, to be quite honest. Swing charts will tell you differently. It was a swing downtrend, but from a closing perspective, you have, the last real low is all the way down at 50K. We got the first big low right here at that 62, and then 63.8 was a higher low, and then we had lower highs, higher low, a little bit of a higher high as it relates to this high over here. But, as it relates to that lower high, but divergence, bearish divergence in this case, broke down from the wick low that it was trying to set here. And, down, down, down we go. Test the monthly, reject the basis band, and then head down and swing the monthly. So what we're really looking for here is to really raise that target up to somewhere around 63.8 to this next April of 2021 monthly swing high at $65,000. That's going to be a key area, but I want you to note that it doesn't do too much for the trend on the daily here. You're probably going to see a lot of people get a little bit more bullish above $65,000, right? Because we do have this swing high here, but we didn't really, we kind of slightly had a closing low set here. So you can consider this a closing low at 63.1. But realistically, for this to turn bullish again, in my opinion, we need to see the downtrend break come on any closures above 67,000 to 67,200. So that is where the picture would change on the daily and subsequent higher term timeframes as well, in my opinion. We do have a lot of pressure down on higher term timeframes at the moment, but Bitcoin has not, it has not initiated an impulsive move to the downside from the break of structure at that March of 2021 monthly quarterly. If it does, if this fails anywhere around 65, swing 67, doesn't close above, knocks up against that upper second standard deviation there around 67.5, 67.7 or so, and fails to close above 67.272, 67.300, then we could see more bearish divergence develop, comes back down, retests the lows and lower. But as it stands right now, you don't want to see that. If you are bullish on this, you do not want to see this low retested. Main reason why is if it does break down, we are significantly marking those targets down. If this low here at that right around the meme, the edge of the meme pullback area there at 56,500 here on spot. We're looking maybe if it just swings down to 55K and regains it. If it starts closing below there, we're looking at continuation of downtrend on the daily, and then targeting somewhere around 53,000 at the September of 2021 weekly swing high to the closing highs here from August and December of 2021. And of course, this is where we had most recently found resistance and then again support here in 2024. So basically $50,000 to $53,000. That's kind of, I would say you don't want to see that area tagged. Now that we have seen Bitcoin come in and regain the quarterly, monthly, and the monthly just above and from October at 61,350, you want to see it close above here. You want to see it push these areas around 63, 63.5, 63.8 or so, because we do have a local low in here around that 63.1. You want to see it reclaim that and then reclaim around 63.800 over here. We also have, by the way, the basis band is technically at around 63.5. So between 63.5 and 63.8, you want to see Bitcoin reclaim that at minimum on like a 4-hour time frame. And then above there, if it hasn't already tried to push up like on a wick, then I think it's a safe bet to target right around this failure here at $65,000. Anywhere above there, I'm looking for 67 to at least get tested. And you do want to see closures above there, and then you want to see higher lows out of here. You want to see a trend change. That's where the trend break would come in. It's very important around 67, and then a trend change would occur on any equal low or higher low from there. So we need to see a higher high, and then either an equal low or higher low. On divergence, preferably, and you want to see Bitcoin really push up and start getting divergence from within the range and not by making lower lows, in my opinion. Because then that's just going to be a much longer form correction. and would start to paint the picture of a very long form correction into a very long form bull market that maybe has quite a lot more corrections in it than many would expect. So, for right now, things actually look pretty encouraging for the bulls. They recovered well, they found their footing. Let's go to a few of the higher term time frame looks here. We did get that expansion down. So do note that just above, Bitcoin's it's not out of the woods. Like I said, it's still it's in a pretty critical and bearish area. And you can see why this is so important. This 67,300 or so on spot. This is the last lower high in the 2-day. There is no ambiguity here. And it's below the lower first standard deviation, which is continuation of trend to the downside between the lower first and the basis. And even if we saw the upper first get below the last lower high at 67,300, it could even tag up there. Of course, from here, if it got there, it would be a trend break and a tag of $69,000. Of course, that's where I would naturally be looking on any closes above 67,000 to 69,000. That's where the daily Bollinger Bands are coming in on the upper end as well. And then, of course, we have the upper first here on the 2-day. Now, the 2-day is going to be... oh, man. I thought I could hold off the cough. It is going to be closing today. So we are going to see the Bollinger Bands expand to the downside again. So when I'm saying like you don't really want to see the lows retested, if Bitcoin starts closing any kind of dailies or 2-day back below the lower second, you can see where it is. It's right there at that monthly quarterly at 58.8. So if we start closing back below it, high chance of it running its current lows. If those current lows don't hold up, then we're looking down to that 50 to 53. Of course, that's where everyone is looking. So it'd be fitting if it got front run and this is the actual low. That's what I would like to see, because I would just like this bull market to get freaking rolling. It's been very boring for about 2 months now. With, the short side of this was not boring. I mean, I've been in a predominantly short position while long scalping the other side for quite a while. I have built, I will tell you, I have built a pretty substantial swing off of this low down here. So I do want to see it get back above around this 62.5 here at the lower first on the 2-day. Of course, if it does do that and close above there on the 2-day, that gives it some room between the lower first and, of course, $65,000 and the basis up here, which is coming in around 66. Now, this is likely going to move down if Bitcoin closes anywhere. It's going to move down probably substantially into $65,000. If Bitcoin closes anywhere below around that 62.5 here from the 2-day perspective. So I did want to call out the 2-day as it is closing with today's daily candle. If we go ahead and look at the 3-day, we also saw that Bitcoin closed below and initiated expansion into support. Now, you'll note that the 3-day did not close below the actual quarterly and monthly here. So the higher term time frames showing some strength off of this area and not getting a close below is actually pretty encouraging. Now, of course, there's 2 days and 5 hours to go on this 3-day candle now. So we really do need to see it back above, guess what, around 63.5 or so by the lower first to go test that $65,000. Take out that lower high, which is right around the basis. Kind of give it a range between 66.5 and 67,300 there. That would be your primary zone of interest to the upside here if Bitcoin starts to push anywhere above 66.5. And then, of course, 69K, a upper first right around, 69.5, 70K. And then, of course, the highs and higher. I would be looking for that to occur, result in a very large move up from there. When looking at the 4-day, which is going to be closing with today's 2-day candle, this looks very encouraging from the 4-day perspective. I know that there's a lot of bearish things to be said about some of the longer term or lower term timeframes, rather, not longer term timeframes. We're on a longer term timeframe, as it turns out. But this was a run of the lower first, which was just below that monthly. We had talked about this previously before this actually happened. That, between 56 and 58, that's one of the reasons why we were looking here as being the valid meme pullback number. And in this case, it did run that area, and it closes above the last, the last close open here right on the monthly there, right around that 61,300, 61,350 at that October monthly close. This is going to look a little bit stronger as long as it can hold up above this area. It doesn't rule out tests down in between now and the next 4-day closure, but this would look pretty damn good. I like the look of this. We can also see that it is getting a little bit of compression here, kind of setting up for a zone. And of course, on the bottom side of that, if the wick low is dropped, of course, any closures on the 4-day or daily time frame below the 4 days lower first there at $58,000. Got to be aware of the wick low at 56,500, and then the lower second is coming in right here in that $50,000 to $53,000 area. So volatility levels lining up with confluence there on the 4-day. You know, the 5-day is actually encouraging as well. As it stands right now, it still needs to close, you know, today's candle and of course Saturday's candle above the basis. But if it does, this is a natural test down to the basis. You know, and what you're looking for is closures. You know, so if it closes below the basis on the 5-day, it's a little bit more downside angled, right? We have to open up those targets down to the lower first. If it closes below the basis, which is coming in at the monthly at 61, it's right around 61, 150. So about $200 below this October monthly. If it did close below there on Saturday, let's say, then, you know, that opens up that lower first, which again just happens to be right in that $50,000 to $53,000 area. So we're getting all the confluences still in that area. This is going to move up more aggressively at Saturday's closure as we do see the bands curling down. Volatility is very low at a 3% under a 28% for BBWP. So we have a cool down, and this is natural. You want to see a cool down and return back to the mean average, which in this case is the basis band. And you do want to see it hold in the strong half. I will say that. So we do want to see this hold in the strong half and or the lower first start really working its way into this monthly over the course of the next few 5-day closures if Bitcoin continues to go sideways. Because you don't want it losing the basis. It starts to turn bearish on longer term time frames. And then if it starts to get expansion below the lower first and second, that's where we're probably looking at like a very long form correction, like on the monthly scale, that could lead into even longer term time frames. That does not mean you know, people would call it the bear market, but I think they'd be shocked when it started to rip to the upside again, unexpectedly, at least from their perspectives. We saw the Bitcoin almost, it's the word tested. That's the word that's getting me, and my apologies for coughing in your ear holes again. But yeah, almost a test down to the weekly basis band as I take a sip of coffee here. Now, to be fair, the weekly basis band is around 55 to 55.5. So if Bitcoin does head back down and swing the low, you want to see it holding that area. If it loses 55.5, or realistically, if it loses the basis, we're looking at it probably heading down to test 50 to 53. That's really where I would see it. I would say higher term time frames closing below there. You can see the weekly actually looks pretty damn good, even trading up above the monthly. You would want to see this close above around 61,350. And of course, that's the criteria to validate that meme pullback as setting a major low. And we would, of course, need to see that low hold in order to favor, you know, probably a face melting rally, to be quite honest, sooner rather than later, if that is to occur. I say that, and then Bitcoin just goes sideways for another 2 months. We get a 120-day consolidation. It paints every type of distribution pattern that you can possibly think of and then takes off to the upside. That would be hilarious, to be quite honest. Bitcoin has been changing character for quite a long time, so I wouldn't be surprised by anything. So if there are people that are surprised by this, it's usually the people that are, you know, ardently following cycle theory when Bitcoin has not been playing to its own cycle theory, let alone, you know, in general, it's going to play with overall market liquidity cycles, but, you know, it's ticking to its own clock. I say that all the time. And, you know, it's evident by looking at the charts. You know, it's doing thinking. Last cycle, it did something very different than it did the cycle prior. Everyone wants to call my favorite thing in the world is this. Everyone wants to call, and for those of you that are new, you might remember that everybody calls this right here. This was March of 2020, right? Everyone calls this a black swan event, but I want you to observe something that is happening here. Just real quick, because this is this was a change of character that everyone is referring back to, saying, well, that's why Bitcoin had like the double top in 2021, and then it dove deeper in 2022, and it actually reclaimed the prior all-time high, where it previously only tested the prior all-time high. So it's all because of this, and it's like, because it was a black swan event. And I'm like, okay, well, that's funny, because here, if you were to go out to a monthly during this black swan event that no one could predicted, that we actually, me and my group talked about, like a big crash coming, you could see back in 2019, when everybody was calling it a bull run, all it did was spike the close open from the 2017 area. So now when going down to a weekly, it's not as clear on a monthly, but when going down to a weekly and evaluating this area, one of the things that we talked about, me and my group, is that, this was a downtrend on the weekly. And when we saw the expansion down and then the bounce back up to the upper second standard deviation, my criteria was it has to break this high. It has to get a close above the upper second standard deviation. Everybody was getting really bullish, because like even people that I know personally were getting very bullish, because it closed above the upper second. It just ran the bands. Landy, it's going to go. It's going to go. I said, you need the additional criteria. It has to get expansion while breaking above the high. And then we can mark up to the next areas, so on and so forth, right? And if it fails there, bad news. And it failed there. Put in the high here, right back to the basis, and we saw that, this was a valid rejection. And I said, like, look, it's going to run back to this low first and then this low. And just so you know, everybody's calling this a black swan, and I get it. The timing, you got to remember, everybody knew what was going on in February. It wasn't really March when everybody like all of a sudden found out about what was happening in the world. So everybody knew in February already. And on this candle, it might have been a dump off candle, because it was a couple days and it just dipped out of there. On lower term time frames, you can see on the daily here, if you were to look and see where it was starting to try to find support here, and you look left, you can see that in lower term time frames, if it lost any of this zone, it was going to just hellaciously dump off to right around this zone, because there was nothing but air between here and here. So that would be with the arrow from here to here. And it was trying to consolidate and hold some of these very weak lows. I could turn on volume and show you all about it, but it would make this video that much longer, right? Or this stream that much longer. But I do want to illustrate that this was the final straw in the lower term time frames, and it shot right through and headed towards this area on a close. Now, of course, it did wick past and even run this little structure here, and this high side structure, basically the high side of the actual macro low. From 2018, but it actually played out super technically. And as I've shown you before, it even played out right back to the cost basis for the baseline lowest electricity cost. Now, I wish Charles Caprioli, however you'd like to refer to him for Caprioli Investments, I wish he would update his trading view indicator. I think I do surmise that he might not be doing that, so that people go and actually read his take on it, which is fine. It's just inconvenient when I want to show off what he has calculated for, the minimum amount of cost to create a Bitcoin right now, or to mine a Bitcoin, and that being at around 77. We did get a we're not yet. I'm sorry. We got a 1.99% difficulty increase. We're staring down the barrel of a possible 3.4 to 3.5% as it currently stands right now. Difficulty adjustment down. And if that does occur, that does mean that the cost basis comes down as well. So, that it's probably more right in the range. It was $30,000 prior to the halving. Now it is $60,000 in simple calculations. His calculations factor in a few more things, though. So that's kind of the higher term time frame outlook for Bitcoin. Where does it need to break? Again, $67,000 to break that trend on the daily and higher term time frames. So far, some of the higher term time frames look a lot more encouraging than even the lower term time frames. If we see the closes come in the way that that I described, especially like on the 3-day, close above 58.8 on that 3-day is going to look very good. Of course, that's going to be over the weekend that we're going to see that. And of course the 4-day looking much better if it can close above 61,350, and that would be by the end of today. And then the 5-day as well, which is going to close with Saturday's candle. So we've got a lot to watch over the weekend here, especially when it comes to the 5-day. I really do think that this is going to be the leading indicator here. When checking on a few more things for the daily here, we will see a Stoke momentum shift back to the upside on any close today above 61,600. So if Bitcoin does happen to close above 61.6, it will get an initial cross back to the upside. But you do want to see it get follow through with that cross. So we do need to say the next pivot's likely going to be the lows. So as long as it's closing back above the lows, we're going to see pressure up. And that's where we're looking at, 63.8 to possibly 65K. And then above there, 67, above there, 69 to 70, and then the highs and higher. When looking at the 12-hour, we can see that we do have that beautiful 12-hour swoop up. Yes, it did screw around, but we finally got that full, the full move kind of reset the momentum indicator here. Man, it's one of those weeks, huh? Let's go ahead and just illustrate this. We got the full Stoke turn on this close directly below 58.8. So we saw the initial cross to the upside actually get that full turn on the next cross, meaning the K over the D, and then the D crosses back up. And that was just below that 58.8 level. And then you see it marching on through to tag what? The basis band. So again, something to note about Bollinger Band levels of volatility. Below the basis band, generally you're in the weak half, right? It does make the lower first, lower second, lower third viable targets. So in this case, 59,700 is a viable target for this current 12-hour candle. If Bitcoin can break above and close above the basis, then the upper first becomes a viable target, and that's right around $65,000, slightly below there, 64,500 or so, as it currently stands right now. If Bitcoin were to break down anywhere below its current open on this 12-hour candle, it will set a high as well, so be aware of that. Anywhere below 59,300, it would set a high, likely targeting initially the basis, the lower second rather, which is right around the current lows. Slightly lower in terms of close, but it's at like 57.3 to 57.4. So we do want to see this, even if it closes, below the basis, we want to see it pushing up above the basis, even if it's a close open. Then that will provide initially that opportunity from a volatility standpoint or outlook that Bitcoin could run that $65,000 region. The other thing to note is expansion and contraction on the 4-hour here. So this is a bearish retest still. Even though Bitcoin can look good and looks much better closing back above 61,350, that monthly, this is still a bearish retest. We do have a bit of a different swing structure going on lower term timeframes. You even will see some indicators call this a swing uptrend, right? Not this one. So this one reads it the way I do. This is simply a low. Now we need to see a high and then a higher low or equal low. And I would prefer myself to see that come in around that 58 to 58.8, which is the lower first to that March and March monthly and quarterly there at 58.8. So 58 to 58.8 is kind of where I would want to see things hang around on any kind of higher low. Be even better if this could push above the upper first and bearishly retest the highs up here at 65. So again, this is all lending confluence that as it stands right now, Bitcoin needs to get above $67,000 to turn bullish. Of course, that would put it above all major moving averages, which I don't have on the chart here for the 4 hour and 6 hour and stuff like that. But also give it more room to come back down and retest these areas in a bullish manner. Right now, this is still a downtrend. So trend is your friend until the end of the trend. When the trend is unclear, everyone is in fear. How do you alleviate that fear? You go to the higher term time frame. So I'm going to pull up some charts that I shared in the Discord yesterday just to leave you with this for a moment. And let's see if I can actually find those real quick here. I had them up, and then as I was setting up the live stream, for some reason, I nuked the browser tabs that had them. Bitcoin chat is filled up. You guys filled up the Bitcoin chat with all my charts, guys. That's okay. That's not a problem. Oh, well, there's this. There's this. Let's see. This is the meme, of course, that's going around right now. Gotta love it. Come on, Bitcoin, do something. And it does. Bitcoin's doing a lot of somethings. But I had posted this as this is one of... Okay. Apparently it doesn't like that. It does not like my content. What in the hell? My content is no longer available. What is going on here? I'm literally looking at the chart. You gotta be kidding me, right? Right? No, come on. What is going on here? Do I need to close open Discord? We'll just jump back here. We're at $62,000 anyway. Let's go ahead and look at a few fundamental things to check on real quick here. And that would first be derivatives. I want to take a look at the take our buy sell ratio on the daily here. We see that it's not in any kind of critical area. It's sitting at a 1.03. Critical would be above 1.08 to 1.15. Would be like really critical, kind of overdoing it there on the bid side. Whereas on the ask side, or asks outweighing the bids, you're looking at a 0.88 on the low side here. This looks fine for right now. There's nothing alarming there. We saw a beautiful washout of leverage, and then a beautiful re-leveraging here on the hourly. We had shorts get wrecked a bit here, the late shorts right at that breakdown area. We did see the shorts get wrecked a little bit on a few candles here, and then the move up, they took it not nearly as hard as the bulls taking it to the downside there. But, you know, nothing too crazy. We got a lot of open interest build up though, and trend has not changed. So, you know, from the hourly perspective, back tests of like 60,800 to 60,500 are going to be okay. You don't want to see it really closing below there. This last higher low on the hourly would be in danger around that $59,000. So I'm not liking the look of the aggressive OI increase off that low region. So if it wiped it out and came back to around 60,000 or high 59s, I'm okay with that. If it wiped out some of this leverage that was just put on the board. If we were going to go to funding, I would bet that some of that might be shorts, and it is. So we see Bybit is negative. They're a big one. OKX, you know, they're a little negative, and WooX is negative. Coin margin, Bybit is also negative. So that's actually, you know, we're not seeing Binance capitulate really negative yet, but they are on the stablecoin margin side below the 0.01%. So we are seeing much of this open interest. It's probably pretty evenly split, I should say, not much of it. It's probably pretty evenly split between long and short here. So, you know, maybe a push up would also clear some of that open interest build up. Let's see. I closed Discord. Let's reopen that, and yeah. Let's see if I can actually get back in here and open a browser. Is this going to give me what in the hell? Why is this being so silly? Let's see if I can do it like this. Maybe this one will work. No. What the hell, Discord? Did you not save my pics that I uploaded? Now I'm getting poop emoji for my server. So great. That's awesome. That's not fun at all, actually. That irritates the hell out of me. All right, so I'm going to open it up to questions before moving on to a little bit of a chat about ordinals. From a technical point of view, mainly because of what's come up with Michael Saylor's offering, which honestly, I think all sides of this debate, like the Ords people that are saying that it's dumb, it's a GPG ripoff because they showed one application use. And those people also don't seem to understand like how corporate America actually operates. And coming up with a solution to SMIME would actually work and be very attractive to large corporations, especially if you have system administrators that have now an easy way to roll that shit out so that they don't have to deal with spam. It's all about cost effectiveness, because if I can roll a set amount of cost onto something like their, Outlook Orange application, get that, kind of pick up where SMIME GPG failed, then there's like, I don't know, everybody's like super silly on that side. And then you've got filter crews freaking out and all that kind of stuff. So did I turn it off and turn it on again? Yeah, with Discord, Discord completely crashed on me. So I'm just wondering if it's a Discord issue. And I'm hoping that if I don't want to mess with it too much, because I'm afraid it's going to brick the stream if I mess with it. Let's just quit Discord. All right, so from a technical point of view, I could go over the docs. Let's go. We might as well reference the docs, right? Or we can stare at a Magic Eden page or a 30-second chart page. Let me do a few things here before I get rolling into that conversation. Though. Let's go to the 30-second chart, because after all, many of you are into Ords and runes, so you're pure degenerates, as am I. And I can also get some questions in as well while I'm trying to fix a few things here. A few technical difficulties going on. We can even throw on a little bit of background music here. We'll just throw in low-level background music to cover for the silent spots here. Yeah, absolutely. Degens assemble. We're forming a team. The Degen unit team. I don't know. Ghostface Killer got in on Ords, and that seemed to be a real big flop. I don't really know what was going on with it. I saw it, and I was like, oh, I guess that's interesting. Surely they won't dump it all off at once, and then it listed on Magic Eden absolutely destroyed anybody who was invested in it. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm sure that you'll get some people poking around and calling it a scam or something. I have no idea, though. I don't even know what it was. I just saw it very quickly, and it was like, Ghostface Killer. It's like, I guess that could be your play. But I'm skipping this song. All I hear is doon, doon, because I can only hear part of it, and that's super annoying. Let's go to this more uplifting Retro City song. Yeah. I don't like this one either. We're going retro waves. All right, so for those of you that are into ordinals, everybody that's here for TA, you're more than welcome to move on. I'm pretty much done with TA unless you have questions. in which case I will open it up for questions. So I probably should do that first, huh? If you do have any TA-based questions, go ahead and ask them before we move on to a little bit of a ordinals conversation, because there is a misconception within the ordinals community that does need to be cleared up. Landy's Crypto Corner Natcats. No, sir. No Natcats. Natcats actually had a nice bounce back, I'll be honest with you. Looked healthy, at least in what I had seen. After getting absolutely battered for like 4 weeks straight, finally working its way back to a zone of interest. But I'm gonna give you guys and gals time to catch up. If you have any TA-based questions, please ask. It can be anything. There's no bad questions. And Bobby, not Natcats. It's all about redacted. That's the new hotness. Natcats is old news. Got your crown? If you got your crown, all good. If you got your crown, you got your whitelist for redacted. That I mean, legitimately, people are excited about the tech and mScribe, and it's kind of reinvigorating the community over there. So, you know, they had to have something, right? I mean, Natcats was dying on the vine over there. It was not looking good. We'll pull this up. Let's pull up. Let's see. Let's pull up the did info from Sailor. Is the site down? No, it shouldn't be down. They have their GitHub for Sailor, and the reason why I'm going to bring up the Sailor stuff is, look, you've got you know, Casey Rodomar and the Ordinals community. You've got Udi and a whole bunch of those other people who are, you know, obviously Casey creating Ordinals protocol, and you know, honestly, it was something that people were already talking about for quite a long time. He took and just, you know, wrote the solution. Basically, he implemented it. It's like, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it myself. And you know, then there's quite a few others that are in that community that are quite pessimistic on Sailor's use of it. Then you have the filter crew, because basically, if you don't know, Sailor is dedicating funds in his company MicroStrategy to development on Bitcoin, and this is not a they have one set of applications that they have shown, and some use cases built around digital identity, or digital identifiers. They call them digital identities. But what you got to understand is like, they're using inscriptions, and they're using it in two ways. And Ordinals, as I'm searching over here for, let me go back 30-second chart. Ordinals are, the data for Ordinals, I should say, are, it's witness data. And what you got to understand about, I guess I could use runes as an example. Witness data versus runes data, which is, you know, the actual runes inscription is it's all UTXO based, whereas, you know, your UTXO has witness data for Ordinals. One can be pruned from the network and the others cannot. And there's been a long debate about witness data within the Ordinals community for quite a while, and there's people who take sides, and then there's people who just don't want to listen. Because they just think that it's so silly. Like, well, it's already out there. Ordinals are already everywhere. There's nothing you can do. As long as I'm running one node, there's no way that you can get rid of witness data. And yes, that's very true. But if there's a concerted effort to move in a specific direction to clear up space, it can be done. And it's usually done via consensus. And that's template consensus, which draws into another big conversation about all of this stuff, which is in regards to the actual miner side of things. So for some of you that are here maybe a little new, I do mine, and talking with the pool operators after Sailor's speech was pretty interesting, because we template mine, and there's some issues with that because you're technically, if your pool is separate from another pool but you're all using the same template, you're really all the same pool, right? So that is something that some of you might have heard already, because it's floating out around there. Bitcoin Mechanic and a few others from Filter Crew have been pointing this out. Gentleman from mempool.space, and I'm failing with his name right now, also has been pointing, the creator of mempool.space has been pointing this out for quite a while. It's like, if all of these different pools are using the same templates, you're not really different pools, because anything implemented within that template that is rolled out to those miners, even if they're in different pools, they're all operating the same, which means that you have consensus amongst those various pools. But realistically, I mean, if a pool is doing something that I don't like, I just aim my hash power somewhere else. It's not hard. I don't have to implement the templates either. I can still remain, in some pools you have to remain in the pool, but not all of them. So there's a lot of different stuff that comes with this. And why didn't Sailor actually tweet out his? Why is the I'll be darned, I am not seeing now. He had mentioned every link that I'm trying to get to today is just not working. Their GitHub is not working. It could be my side. I think it's MicroStrategies. So, one of the big things that you do need to understand if you are buying ordinals, and you are, you're buying them because this is, not to flip. This is art that you want to own. There's like the Bit Rioter that I have intro and outro for this stream. That's by Viola Miscode. I bought that. I do not plan on selling that. I got a print of it and everything. So, that's something that a lot of people are like, well, it's forever. It's never going to not be on the blockchain. And that's not completely true. Is it very unlikely that it could that you would get consensus to prune all of it? Because as long as one node is running it, the problem is if that node is now no longer in consensus, or those nodes are no longer in consensus, then yes, technically, as long as there's one node that's running it, it's forever. But is it Bitcoin anymore if it's not within the consensus viewpoint here? As Bitcoin pushes up, this is actually what you do want to see if you're bullish. Bitcoin pushing up. Man, this is getting frustrating. I don't know why this link is not working. So I'm probably gonna have to skip. I was gonna review a little bit of their GitHub for those that might be interested, but some of you may even know a little bit about stamps. And one of the things that this particular protocol proposal is trying to take advantage of, you can relate stamps to kind of runes as well. And the way that they operate, they are different, and they do operate differently. But in terms of, one is UTXO based, one is witness data based. The UTXO carrying the witness data. So you got to really understand that pruning UTXOs is not really something that is feasible, right? Which is where the Stamps crew is kind of declaring victory in this particular fight. And the filter crew is freaking out. You've got Ords, kind of shitting on what they're doing, but also like celebrating that he's getting into Ords, and then shitting on Stamp's crew. And if you don't understand why Stamp's crew is even relevant, because they were kind of the butt of the joke of the entire Ords community for quite a long time now. It's that, Binance is throwing their weight behind it, and Binance can force success. So, you can only ignore things for so long. And if you are interested in the immutability aspect of it, and you are concerned about witness data pruning, then you might fall into that camp. And I can completely understand how. I also got a few questions, like I was talking in chat about it, and some made it sound like I was dooming about it, and I'm not dooming about it. But what you got to understand is there's a fight on the horizon, and Michael Saylor is opening the door to that fight. And the reason why is because he's such a big player in the game, and he has a company that is a software development company that many people like Udi wrongly say has never delivered a product, and that's just asinine. There was organizations that I worked with, in education even, that were using MicroStrategy software. Now that did change over time, but one of the big things that I do think that they're doing is smart is like they understand that corporate America and corporations around the world and business people still primarily operate with the email templating, and everything is based off of those emails, and spam is still it's becoming such a large problem that there has to be a solution, even if that solution has been around for a very long time but not implemented well because of the administrative overhead. And as somebody from that particular field, I can tell you right now, administrative overhead is one of the main reasons why GPG and SMIME never took off. Instead, other more advanced filtering solutions were thought of on the network layer that's basically checking your email before you check your email. And if there was a way to digitally identify stuff so that, we can filter way ahead of time and rid this stuff, it's like bringing blockchain to social media, or social media to blockchain, the other way around. It would solve a lot of the bot problems you see on and not all of them, by the way, but a lot of the bot problems that you see on X, where it's literally you post one thing and there's like 20 different scam accounts posting underneath whatever you posted. And it's only ever going to get worse, so there has to be solutions proposed. So the fact that like the Ords crew, the main well-known people up there are kind of shitting on it but also celebrating it is kind of weird to me. It's like, okay, well, it sounds like you just took the surface level of what they were talking about and the one example that they were showing for possible use cases for a product that they're building out of a set of products or a suite of products. Is kind of silly and asinine. One of the reasons why I think they are utilizing the UTXO and the witness data, which, like I said, can be pruned, is because now they can get everyone talking about it. Because if they only did one or the other, or found some sort of server-side solutions a la other chains, then not, might as well just use a layer 2 at that point, right? But they really, Saylor also with some of his comments is baiting. He is baiting people in a way that is very, very much trying to stir up controversy. And I think I had alluded to, oh Jesus. Jason Lowry's hilarious. This is his flight aware that he just did. This is hilarious. This is great. You know what? Bitcoin. He's trolling with his flight plans. That's great. I love to see that. But yeah, it is one of those things where you do have to understand that in my personal opinion, what he is doing is, he's building a product, but he also understands Bitcoin. He understands the maxis. He understands the Ords guys. He gets it, and he's baiting the fight, the conversation that miners have been avoiding, and developers have been avoiding for a while. So you're probably in for a lot of like ratcheted up takes for quite a while, and probably a miner fight. I can tell you that there's pools that are that are looking at this as a very positive thing, and then pools that are not, right? And you might think you know who they are, and you don't. You know those who have made themselves known. And if you're in industry, there's a few of you I know that are in industry, even some of you I believe that run your own facilities, which we need to talk, by the way, because I am looking at those CAS miners, by the way. So if that is something that you're hearing, I do want to chat with you about it, because on my side, we had a fairly lengthy conversation about, what do we do in certain scenarios when one side gets the upper hand, because we will be forced to take sides. And that's not something that you want to be forced to do as a miner, because of, if you're taking a specific side, it might even mean joining a different pool that has a different payout structure or schema. And you may not be fully on board with some of the templates or where your hash power is going as well. So my advice to all of you is, no matter what you hear or see, understand the technicalities of what some of these things are. Understand what UTXOs are, understand what witness data is, dig in and do the research so that you can get a good baseline of understanding for what the conversation is, so you know when to ignore the noise, because you're going to hear a lot of noise. Now, how does that affect ordinals in general? It does not affect ordinals at all, outside of you're going to hear a lot of like, we're going to prune you right off the network stuff, because the tensions are getting ratcheted up, and Michael Saylor liked to throw his hat in the ring and ratchet them up to 11, right? Now, is that realistic? No. You have very big pools that will still template for, including the pools that I'm in, that still template for allowing Ords and Ords transactions. And if it was a scenario where that is the more dominant and people do not want to have their data intermingled, or their transactions intermingled with witness data or other types of data structures that could be coming, you can always just, there's always going to be a pool out there that will process your transaction. It's just, you might have to wait longer, and that's a very big disadvantage. That's where it starts to open up the OpCat conversations, which is stacked elements, and stacked elements can be very dangerous. So that's something we'll get into in another, go Biddy, go. Yes, go for that basis band. Yes, big giant candle, do it. Sorry, distracted by lovely green candles. I was distracted by lovely red candles, and then it went sideways for a while. I mean, I was like, should I exit? I was up here on my short position, took a nice swing short, and I was like, man, should I exit? When it was right around 67, I'm glad I didn't. I actually went back in on the breakdown of 65 and sized that trade up to the lows. And if this is for those of you that have known me for a while, I will tell you that my swing short is now closed. Just FYI for you guys that know me and know the way I trade. Do not interpret direction on price for that. But that will give you some insight into my thought process as it stands right now, as I am kind of absurdly long from the lows. Of course, stop is in profit if it does come back at me, and I have been taking profit along the way. That's the way that you should do things. Always pay yourself. Mempool looks good. Yep. All right. So let me go ahead and look at the chat again here. I see that we've got a lot of chat. Lord Cryptic. Hello, sir. Hello, Bobby. We've got Ivan. Hello. We've got Spin. Hello. Cheryl's here. If it's the coffee, I need stronger coffee. Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, jerk. Oh, God, even Cheryl's getting in on it. God, everybody's going to pile on, right? Can't talk for, just a couple sentences or a couple streams. And let's pile on Landy. Get better coffee. Smoke weed every day. Let's see. Ivan, that's not a relevant question. What's my profit? I don't talk about profits. That's not something that profit and loss is not something that I'm going to discuss with you. And trading, I don't discuss my trades. There's very specific reasons why. If you want me to articulate the reasons why, I don't discuss the trades outside of telling you roughly. I mean, if you've been following my analysis, you can probably figure out where I'm trading, right? Where I'm going long and short. It's not very difficult to figure those things out based on the conditional analysis that I provide. So, but yeah, part of that is you don't want to dox yourself. The other part of that is that different people have different expectations for what they can make versus what I might be making on a trade. So I don't think it's healthy if you were trying to learn to trade to do that. While you are in the process of learning, I should say. And if you got a banger of a trade, cool. I don't care if you peacock about it. Go ahead, you should. But in terms of asking others, it's up to them if they want to share. You might find that some of them are in millions of dollars in profit on a trade, and you are in the hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. And to some people, that can set unrealistic expectations. Or even on the flip side, maybe you're on the other side of that, and you're in, a couple $1 million in profit from a massive $10,000 move down, and maybe you put 50 some odd Bitcoin on it. And, or a massive move up off the lows, and you got, maybe you've levered like 20 something Bitcoin or something along those lines. And that's going to be very different because there's whales in this chat, right? There's people who have a lot. There's whales and sharks here. And there's also people who are just trading to make $100. So that's very different things going on. And I would suggest that if you want to share, great. Share your success. Share it as a percentage or something. If you don't know, or if you're in a public chat. Let's see. Sounds interesting. I'm in no position to mine. What? Lenny has been hacked. Plot twist. In trading, oh my god, he's human. How am I human? Wait, I mean, that's not, that came out wrong. What do you mean by that? Ivan, curiosity killed the cat. Just so you know. It's killed a lot more than cats. And also, cats have 9 lives, and you don't. And in trading, you have a very thin margin, especially when you're starting up. If you don't have the luxury of building yourself a position or building yourself out of a bad spot, let's say you read the bottom wrong and you were shorting. Well, one, yeah, I would not. You should cut that damn short, and you should have cut it as soon as it's coming back at you. But there's people in this market who could build all the way back to the highs, and still they could walk their entry up the entire way. Cheering for candles. Oh, well, I mean, I'm always going to cheer for a downside or upside candle when I'm on the proper side of the trade, right? I'm all for it. I was hoping it was going to bomb out even lower. That short position was juicy, baby. Yeah. I agree. But yeah. That is... so, if you're talking ordinals markets, there's not really, and maybe some of you have access to that TradingView style indicator, or not indicator, but chart. One of the things that I will tell you about that is, one, you're going to want to throw volume on if you're charting in ordinals, but the other thing is the length of history of the ordinals really matters. So like if you're trying to chart something that just dropped, like Based Angels, this one, honestly I didn't mint it, and I probably should have. I could have made some good money on that, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's not really minting out, and then I don't know, I guess it minted out, and then it just took off. I underestimated it. Also, I was busy, but I mean, there's no history. There's barely any history. There has been about 8 Bitcoin in volume, which is pretty good, to be quite honest. So there was definitely a lot of interest. I don't know a lot about this stuff, about specific projects. I know that the Angel stuff does well. I was looking at it and like, maybe I should mint this, and then kind of like forgot, and then it was like, oh, it's not minting out, so I guess I'll just check on it and see if it dumps out or takes off. And it took off pretty well. Nice amount of sales, and one day you're doing about 4.5 Bitcoin in the past 24 hours. That's pretty damn good. But about 19% supply listed. Here's the thing. My one headphone keeps messing up, and these are good headphones too. That bugs me. One of the things you got to understand is, like, you can chart it, but without volume and without history. If you're on that order chart or whatever it's called, you want the volume, but you want the history too, because you have no comparables. And then you do have to take into account a few other things. You have to take into account total supply and total listed, compared to how many people own. So about 2.4, about half of the owners, have 2 of these. So, getting rid of one to make your mint money back is kind of the play there at the highs. Maybe even double, and then keep one to throw on the market later, right? That's for the traders. If people are really in it for the art, they're going to be in it for the art. But 99% of this is people cheating flips, right? They want to flip. If they feel like they can't get the flip right away, they'll eat the loss, move on to the next thing. So I see that Blob is back taking off. We've got, like, this is one that you could chart. This I would say has a substantial enough history that you could chart like Blob for support and resistance based on volume. You still need to understand the owner distribution, so how many owners versus supply, and then how many are listed versus your supply. That is going to be something that is relevant. So less listings, obviously, more buyers in the market. Typically, you will see that when prices on Bitcoin are dumping out, everything else is going to dump out. One of the main reasons why is that you get a lack of buyers, or even when mempool fees are high, you'll see that ordinals aren't going to be, people aren't going to be bidding up on ordinals, whether that's making offers or clicking the buy button, right? Which gives, because it's an asynchronous trade, that gives sellers, all kinds of time to just list, and then chase people to the bottom, just trying to attract a couple sellers, right? Or a couple buyers, rather. So you get a bunch of sellers, undercutting each other to try and attract, very few buyers in that particular environment, whether it's a Bitcoin crash down through support levels, or whether that is, high mempool fees. So that's kind of all how that kind of goes. But you got to understand, it's an asynchronous trade. Same with runes. So if you're looking at runes, this is also an asynchronous trade, and they're taking a beating today. Dog to the moon taking a bigger beating than most. Risk took the beating yesterday pretty hardcore, but is back around the 20 sat level. There's going to be charts for this, but unless it's listed on an exchange, you're not going to get really. And even if you get one that's listed on exchange, if it's on a Mickey Mouse little exchange, it's not really going to matter. But there are more ways to chart these than ordinals themselves. Give you a little bit more insight, and don't cost money. So, but it's tough to gauge because, you know, you got to look at the volume for the day, you know, how much is being traded there, that kind of stuff. You know, you got quite a few here that are up absurd amounts of money. And the reason why is because, for instance, the supply is 111 million for Feiyu, but there's literally only a million that were minted, or 1% of that that was minted out by the public and that is actually tradable. So you get a very high price on this. You have this overhang of supply that is kind of incredible. I'd have to go back. I might be wrong on the actual mint numbers for that. But my point is like only 1% of the supply was minted by the public. So that's all that is circulating right now. Because that is all that is circulating and it's the first rune and, you know, it's doing very well. I mean, it's trading at literally 47, almost 48,000 sats on the floor. Price for this, at least on Eden, you might be able to arbitrage and get it less somewhere else, but you know, they're probably going to get an exchange listing. Maybe they'll reserve some of that, drop it, but as soon as they airdrop, what's going to happen to price? You're introducing more supply, which, you know, if the demand is not there to meet that newly incoming supply, and even if it is, you're going to see people dropping the floor prices. So I do believe there's a few platforms that are getting ready for a TradingView style chart solution to try and aggregate what's going on Eden and Unisat marketplace and OKX marketplaces, but you know, it's not something that is easily done at this point. So my overall feeling about like Ords themselves, they're not going anywhere. In fact, they're going to grow, and this is a dull period within Ords. Liquidity sapping event, you know, just had the rune rage around the halving. You got a big pullback in the halving, post halving. So, you know, provided Bitcoin consolidates, goes sideways, and then starts moving back to the upside as it's trying to do today, and test in and around that the main areas that we've been talking about. If it can higher low its way out of here, probably going to see Ords do quite well. Where do I think Ords and runes are going to do the best? Alt season. I do think that alt season is the place to be for ordinals and runes. I think you're gonna get all the narratives, but you're gonna see a huge influx of liquidity into ordinals and runes, I think, during an alt season run. Don't ask me when that's gonna be, because I don't know. Yeah, we can go look. Yeah, we can look. So I mean, it would be your total 2. You know, that looks like a double bottom on total 2. This looks actually really good. So total 2 is excluding Bitcoin. It's basically your altcoin market cap. You know, and it's a rough number, but this looks like a double bottom as it stands right now. If we were to fib this, I would say it's going to be strong pretty soon here. If it can get back above around 1.08, 1.09 trillion, that would be the daily upper second. But when forming a bottom like this on compression, if this starts to break back above the 50% fib of this entire range, pretty quickly looking at this jumping up to about 1.15 to this last lower high up here, which is about 1.23. So very, very bullish, especially basically above 1.1 trillion is going to be very bullish. That'd be the criteria. So break above there. It's still got the 618 overhead, could pull back, but any kind of closes back above about 1.1 trillion, you're looking at this substantially legging up. It's testing the 382 right now. That is a 618. It's on the bearish end of things. But if it paints a picture like this on any kind of divergence, which it does not have local, but doesn't have in trend, it has you know, some longer term divergences in it for sure. Yeah, whenever it does put in an actual low on the weekly, that's continuation. At minimum, I'd be looking for it to come back up to 1.3 trillion, which of course would result in a pretty good bump, but not the actual alt season that people would be looking for, especially pressure down on the stoke there on the weekly. But let's see, 1.03 would turn it back to the upside, so it's not ready yet today. You got to see what Bitcoin does, as it is leading the market. If we look at total market cap, you can see that, you know, we're getting the same look that you would get that we're getting on Bitcoin. You're going to see bull flag folks very, very adamant about this particular structure, when in reality this is not getting local divergences that would qualify it in my mind as a bull flag. Could it still play out that way? Absolutely. And again, this would be around 2.42 trillion for a total market cap. Above there, looking pretty damn good to go run those higher, and get some expansion back to the upside. And again, this is approaching the 382 on a fib retracement at the moment from high to low. Above there, needs to get above the upper second, which is this lower high. This did hold the wick lows for total market cap. It was lower lows, so you know, it swung down and swept too, but just beware. This is the same area. This is the 50 on total market cap. You know, this is about $2 trillion to about 1.85 trillion. That's your 50 to 53K on Bitcoin. So understand that there really hasn't been an alt season. There's a nice bump in alts, but there really hasn't been an alt season. Come on, Beatty, you can do it. And you know, things are going to pump right now. Everything should be green. Bitcoin obviously leading the way. We've got, you know, ETH trying. I mean, even ADA is trying. What about XRP? XRP, gotta make me look at it, right? You know, XRP is actually in a little bit stronger position than I would have expected, but it already had its expansion to the downside. So, you know, it turning to the upside right now and holding its lows on a higher low in higher low fashion, pretty good. Back above 57 bucks or $57, 57 cents. XRP people wish it was 57 bucks, right? I mean, they'd take $5 at this point. It's back about 57 cents. It's probably running back into the mid 60s, upper 60s. And yes, I did take a trade on this. XRP, I mean, it trades well. I mean, this was a great short. This was a great long. This was a wonderful short. You know, I mean, it's not difficult to see when it's breaking down and when it's breaking up, and it tends to play in a nice range. So if you like range trading and you want to just get some USDT and USDC to go buy some Bitcoin, you can trade it. It plays really well with support and resistance and expansion and contraction. It's just, you know, look at that long form chart and you're like, this sucks. It's like this is not going to the $2,000 that Mr. Green said it would. This is going sideways. I'm starting to suspect Mr. Green didn't know what he was talking about. It's almost like he doesn't do any kind of TA. Yeah, I'll stop shitting on that guy. He blocked me on multiple accounts now. He's blocked me from whatever other accounts he's run. Oh, by the way, if the weekly does turn green, where you want to see this close is back above $65,000. That would start to set a swing low, most certainly. But it would set or begin to set up a closing low, targeting that $67,000, and that would look very strong on the weekly. And of course, $67,000 is right there at the upper first standard deviation on the weekly, just as a reminder for something to watch coming into the weekend price action. So. Yeah, So Ivan says Landy getting blocked is funny. I'm not. Look, me getting blocked is not anything new. It's a little bit newer from my TA account, but it is not anything new. Sometimes Landy likes to pick on some of the people who do ridiculous things like Mr. Green and try to lead people in a completely wrong direction regarding literally giving people investment advice based on nonsense. And that's, I have no problem getting into a little internet argument with them, especially when they're gonna like try to shit on something they don't know about, like technical analysis, astrology for men and women. Speaking of which, aren't we in that bull moon phase? Let's go to where's In Silico's moon phases. Let's do it. In Silico moon cycles. Here we go. Bear moon called it. Bull moon did not. But you had the this vernal equinox. Full moon, screw you. It said screw you. And then on top of that, we had another vernal equinox. I don't know what any of this means. But it is funny to look at as, nice bull moon, bear moon for the main full moons here. And then the 23rd did not work out too well, huh? That was a fail. But if you zoom out a little bit more and we take off like support and resistance, the moon's actually kind of lined up pretty well. Obviously, if you're trading with Landy's methodologies and defining trading strategies based on the methodology that we use, you're probably going to get a very, very high hit rate as long as you're trading it correctly. I mean, this bear moon did not work out well. Bull moon did. Bull moon over here did. This the equinox, whatever bull, kind of pushed things down. The bear pushed things down. This bear worked. This bull worked. This bear didn't do much. And a lot of people are stumped by like why this works out. Usually, when the full moons are, is typically around options expirations. So, and options and CME still play a big part in Bitcoin. And then, of course, we're waiting on options for ETFs, but you have liquidity cycles within the ETFs as well. I mean, because they're managing other things that have options expirations. So if they want to roll into something real quick on the downtick in traditional markets and then bounce, they can take from the ETF side of things, roll into that bounce for the new, for some calls and maybe sell some covered calls and stuff like that. And then roll that liquidity right back into the Bitcoin ETF, which is likely what you're seeing happen in the ETFs. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, they're selling everything. They're going to kill Bitcoin. And it's like, no, they're not. They, believe it or not, they actually know what they're doing. These are professionals managing this side of the market. And like it or not, they actually do know what the hell they're doing. Let's get rid of the moon indicator here. You can see IBIT, which of course is BlackRock's big old ETF there. Nice little gap fill here, and had that gap up from late February. Nice little downtrend. Are they building any divergence on the ETFs? Now for this, it is a little bit cleaner, but they have avoided actually building any divergence. But they are that you don't need the divergence here. But honestly, nice bounce off the bearish control zone twice now. It's about ready. It's already throwing a oh shit, look out to the upside coming into Monday's open. In terms of signals, if you're a signal person, with RSI over the 12, and that is a 12 SMA, it's not always going to work out. You need other points of confluence, but in this case, you also see that above 35.46, we already have an initial cross. This is likely going to result in a fully confirmed cross to the upside coming into Monday, trading quite a bit higher post-session as well. So this is going to be a fully confirmed cross to the upside, testing around and regaining the low that it broke down from, gap fill, come back up, This thing takes out 38, 36. Goodbye. This is back to the highs and much, much higher. And especially if you put on Bollinger Bands here, get those levels of volatility. Yeah, so break above there. 38, 31, it's going to go for 38 to 40 pretty quickly. And of course, above there, it's the highs by the upper second standard deviation, somewhere around 41 to 42 bucks, and expansion above there. I would venture to say this, if it does come up and break the high around 38, 31, probably going to see it mess around, maybe even run the high, come back down for higher lows. Or you see it get to where the basis kind of double top its way right there. Everybody gets really bearish. It comes down. Ooh, I whistled. Sorry. Comes down and higher lows its way out of there. That's what I would be looking for, especially looking at like the 2-day, which is now starting to paint Bollinger Bands, which is cool. 2-day is going to be any closures above 34.49. And you know, it's looking like it could do that back above the lower first. We're looking at that being confirmed. You know, it's pushing that gap fill right there. But again, above the basis here, that 38.31, then we're looking, you know, 40 bucks pretty quickly from the 2-day chart to the highs and higher. You know, somewhere around that 41.5, 42 bucks, and that would, you know, that would line up with a beautiful cross back to the upside for Stoke, which is, you know, only just now painting, but you know, this would all come. You could get your edge from just looking at Bitcoin spot. You don't need this. This is just confluence based on how the ETFs are trading and reacting. The other thing that you could look at if you want to get another look at Bitcoin from the traditional market angle is you can look at Coinbase, and you can look at MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy looking like it's going to throw this bullish divergence. This is likely confirmed coming into Monday. And then this is coming off the lower second standard deviation, running the upper second to lower seconds. This is a beautiful move back to, you know, not even really retest too much. It's retesting its prior highs. It's nothing too crazy. It's trading, and if it does open above the lower first standard deviation on MicroStrategy, you're looking at basically 1394 to the basis around 1466. This is log scale, so it looks small, but it's actually quite large in terms of the actual numbers to hit. But you know, you're looking somewhere around the close open at 1340 to the actual high at right around 1394, 1395. And then above there, you're looking at that basis band. That is, you know, 1450 to 1466, where the basis currently is. Obviously, this is bearish retesting, you know, the primary zones of support up here, somewhere around there. But, you know, anywhere, any closes above, you know, 1063, and this thing's turning back to the upside. Throw on a bullish divergence. Probably a little bit of pressure. That's from the 2-day, by the way. The daily's already there. It's already throwing that low. This did not get, no, it did not get, no, it's not in trend bullish divergence. It is historical bullish divergence. It's just indicator is not painting it. That would be your hidden bull div or historical bullish divergence. It's not the in trend bullish divergence forming. So it's not quite as powerful, but at least minimum mean reversion. Look for 1300. Coming into Monday, Tuesday is what I would be looking for. So, and then of course you can get an edge by looking at Coinbase. Doesn't matter if you don't like them or like them. Coinbase went down. Coinbase does not have. Wait, Coinbase actually does have bullish divergence, doesn't it? You could call that bullish divergence. Yeah, equal lows on RSI, lower lows on price action. We've got Stoke pointed to the upside here. Ignore the red and blue. This is a bug. 216 would do it, and I think did it. Yeah, it did. And it's trading up a little bit further post-market here. 2 days, the big one, 205, and it closes above there. Get a fully confirmed cross to the upside. And I do suspect that this would start to paint. Nope, I guess not. Historical bullish divergence, maybe? Nope. So no bullish divergence on this one either. But it does have daily. MicroStrategy has 2-day, that kind of stuff. So in terms of momentum, coming off the lower second standard deviation, by the way, for those that maybe don't understand, is upper second and third, lower second and third are going to define either a reversal or continuation. So a reversal from this area, or like you see a close above and then close above the high, and then you get continuation, come back and retest, and usually try to reverse, and then you run the other way, and it runs down. We get a reversal off that zone. It can still, you just use the basis as strong half above, weak half below. So could it still run down? Absolutely. And then get continuation if it breaks the wick low at 198, for instance, on Coinbase. That'd be below the lower second. That's where you're looking at expansion down to additional areas of support, and then you just look left. So, somewhere around 185 to the low, and around 164 would be the primary zone of interest. But momentum is saying that there is a possibility that it could try higher. And then if it does get into the strong half, that's where you can start looking at the upper standard deviations there. And that would be helpful for many. So again, just to illustrate that, expansion down through the support, bounce up, and then come back down and retest. One of my favorite plays when using any kind of volatility metric, plus it was a gap fill. So now you're looking for that high to get taken out at around 240. And then come back to it and look for higher low structure, because you do want it to come back down and make higher low structure. I prefer it makes higher low structure after running a bit. That's just what I prefer, but we don't always get what we want, right? Yeah. Was that helpful? That little quick take on how to read that? Yeah, if you're not familiar with Bollinger Bands, Bollinger Bands are a default indicator in TradingView, but they are standard deviations away from the basis band. So it's 1, 2, or 3 standard deviations away from a 20 period SMA or whatever you want to define. Here in my indicator, which you can get for free in the link in the video description or on my X profile page, it is an indicator in beta. Yes, there's still stuff coming to it. Yes, I'm going to refine it and clean it up. But you can define like your basis band settings and BBWP settings. So basis band or Bollinger Bands, you can say that I want this to be the 55. So you can either do that or you can type it in. And then you can even define which standard deviations you want away from that 55. And then that's telling you the 55 or the 50 in this case, because it's an MA, it's a simple moving average. So you probably want to use the 50. And you can see that this basis is now the 50 moving average. So if I was to throw on my moving averages down below here, you'd see that it paints the 50 moving average right over the basis there. So, and Bitcoin is still in bearish retests. It's still a bearish retest as it stands right now. Again, it's got to break $67,000. 65 would be more encouraging. It would put it above most major moving averages. Nice little swing down below. You can see you can mess around with this too, so you don't have to. I would suggest that you use the default settings because that is how everything is tuned. But if you do use, a different setting, more than welcome to. I would, if you use BBWP, it's going to pull a 13 length on this, so you can adjust the length if you're going to adjust that, but I wouldn't get too far away from default settings to be quite honest. But you can see the 55, this is the lower first, or the 50 simple moving average, right? So, and this is a compression when looking at the 50, right? So it's we could even change it to the 200. There's no hard rules to this, and you can get a look for how many standard deviations are we away from the 200. Oh, we lost the upper first. and the 200's down here at $49,000. Hey, go figure. The daily 200 is right here in this zone, you know, right around that $50,000 to $53,000, right? So we were riding pretty high on the upper third standard deviations, or 3 standard deviations away from the 200. We came back to the, you see that it doesn't line up very well. That's why we used the 20 simple. But you know, the upper second, you know, loses it, tries to regain it, finds it as support, loses it, finds it as resistance, finds the upper first as support, and then loses that, and then now it's retesting to try and get back above. So, you know, somewhere around 63,000, not $63, then I would be looking to 65. Above 65, then keep an eye on that lower high at 67 or so. I hope you're doing okay over there, Jedi. Good to see you. And your alt. When looking at moving averages, yeah, you can see the weekly 21 got tapped. So yeah, this was a 5 that it lost, and then down to the 21. You can also change this to be default out of the box. This is going to be a 9. Once it lost the 9, it was boom, down, hit that 21. And you can see that prior, the 21 on the weekly, by the way, right around the 20 simple. 20 simple is right underneath it. And the 21 being above the 20 simple is still bullish. Okay. So if we do see Bitcoin close back above the weekly 9, you know, then things look very good. And it's actually not too far away. That's actually at 63,500, which of course is some relevant levels. That's where Bitcoin just broke down from to go test the areas that we have seen test. So nice direct stab into the 21. This was a little bit lower than price, the 21 EMA, but because price is getting pulled back to the 9, the EMA will adjust ever so slightly real time, just like the Bollinger Bands. Yeah. Like monthly, yeah. I hope your mom's doing good too. Monthly 9 is getting pulled up a little bit. It's now 51.8 or 51, almost 51.9. It was at 51.8 when it was price was heading down. See, they just ever so slightly move around during the actual candle. But not anything too significantly unless they're like right on it. Then you'll see it change, you know, because it's it's tens of thousands of dollars in terms of value. You know, it can change a couple $100 here and there. Yeah. The fast, you're talking about what I showed on Wednesday's live stream. Yeah, no, it was what I just had on here before. You can do an 8. 8's going to be a little bit faster. That's around 53,000 for the monthly. And then if you're going to do a one of the fastest that I would suggest is relevant, you're looking at the 5. And the 5 is, you know, right here at that monthly that was swung down below at 58,000. You know, to be fair, it's at 58,500. The further the Bitcoin goes up, it's just going to be right in line with our support resistance zone here. You know, at the monthly here, it's right on the bottom side of that monthly quarterly, right? So that area needs to hold up on a weekly close. It needs to hold up on a monthly close. Bitcoin looks good, dipping down below it and swinging and making everybody really bearish, flushing out a whole bunch of OI. Looks great. In fact, you know, I had mentioned that shorts need to take it and hold that bag. Let's see if they did, or if it's just longs coming in. So they got swiped a little bit on this last hourly candle, but not much. You know, kind of up and down, doji on OI, and it's not increasing too significantly. It's just kind of going sideways around that 16.34 billion. So, you know, there's still some OI build up from the long side that the shorts could take advantage of, but you want to see it result in a higher low on something like a 4 or 6 hour. preferably to start. Argument could be made for a 4-hour, but it's not, in my opinion. Then I see a closing higher low. Yeah, not a sideways consolidation. Because the swings were so minimal. If they were larger on the 4-hour, I would have, to look at the 4-hour just to kind of give you some context. By the way, it's working its way to like the 369. Hey, Bobby, your favorite moving average there. You can see that when it broke down below and then failed at the 200, it was all over when that 369 was broken, right? Now, you can see the 21, 9 over the 21, heading back to the 55 and 50 for moving averages. If you're going to read moving averages, you don't want to see this breach back below the 21, because then the 9 will get below the 21, and then you have full trend to the downside again. So what you want to see is an EMA flip too. You want to see the 200 SMA underneath the 200 EMA. So you want that leading to the upside, and then Bitcoin to regain that 200 EMA and flip all of the other moving averages above it. So you got a full stack back to the upside, and it's easier if it hangs out down here, higher lows its way, really pull that 200 simple down while the EMA kind of flattens out, and then the 200 simple comes down below it. Probably not going to see that, but Bitcoin goes sideways, higher lows, holds that monthly at 61,350, then it's looking pretty damn good. In terms of percentage chances, you're looking at like a 6-hour. You've got a full stack still developing on the 6-hour for the longer ones. 5 over the 21. Let's do 9 because you really want 9. 9 is not over the 21, and 9 is over the 21. So you don't want to see the 9 flip back under the 21 here. You're looking at 58, 59, 58,000 and likely to lows again. As long as it's equal lows or higher lows, then it's got a better chance. But what you, as a bull, what you'd want to see for further upside here is really the you want to see the flip in the Bollinger Bands is what you want to see, and we are starting to see it with expansion of the downside and slight re-expansion of the upside. But you want to see basically 59,000 hold as it stands right now, preferably the upper first to 61,350. So you're looking at like 60,800. Just so happens to be this little order block candle over here on the 4-hour before the fall. And that's around the upper first, and then of course the monthly support there that has been tested quite a few times if you look back here, and you want to see this area hold up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can call that 6 failure, and then failure. So last we saw 6 tests and then 2 failures, so sign of weakness there. If it retests and fails again, that would be your third sign of weakness. Yeah. No, I did a full breakdown of my thoughts on Bitcoin at the very beginning of the stream. So you can roll back the YouTube or the X stream. If you're on X, the video is probably crunchy there. It's much cleaner on YouTube. And some of you that are joining me from Twitch, I do thank you for joining me, but what the hell are you doing? Like, isn't Twitch just a gaming platform? I have to stream because of the streaming software. It forces me to stream there. Welcome. Come to the YouTube and X accounts and hang out with us there. Yeah. Do I think runes will come back? I mean, yeah, I think runes will run with alt, with an alt market pump up. And in general, if Bitcoin's doing well or consolidating, if Bitcoin's like going on a run, it tends to hoover up all the liquidity, right? But if it's consolidating and pushing up in higher low fashion, then I would say, I would be generally in favor of people spending money to pick up the floor on some runes. Yeah. A lot of them are probably going to go to zero. I would not be surprised, and neither should you. There's no utility to any of them. And utility tends to, obviously the meme is utility kills all the projects, right? But the folks that are actually building stuff are the ones that you should be looking for. Like, how are they utilizing that rune? Is it just purely for trading? If it is purely for trading, what is going to have the highest likelihood of getting listed? What is already listed? You got Satoshi is listed. I think can somebody let me know, did Risic list? I think it might have. I think Dog is listed on at least one exchange, maybe two. Typically, the first listing is going to be, as I said, it's going to be an AMM pump up from the USDT or USDC pair, and then you're probably going to see a larger exit to cover, and then you wait for wherever it bottoms out to look for reaccumulation. If you're looking long, is there any other listed? Did Pepe Matrix get listed? Because that thing has just been going nuts. I had somebody in a whale chat pointed out to me a while ago, and then some of you guys also pointed it out. But it was like ripping hardcore. It was like 800% or something at one point. I don't remember. Yeah, it's still above, way above where I had picked some up at, and I don't really know anything about it other than it's Pepe. And there's a matrix with Bitcoin in the background. That's it. I mean, it's a meme. I don't have to know much more about it. But in terms of token mechanics or tokenomics, I have no idea. Supply, demand, I haven't even looked. It was just stupidly cheap, and then it came up in a whale crew chat. They were like, yeah, get in on this. I was like, why? I haven't seen this. Is this just another one? Because there's some other Pepe ones, and I was like, isn't this one? No. And then for because I didn't, for some reason I didn't have Risic, or I sold it. I don't even remember. The actual miners, I ended up waiting for this to come down below 20 sats. Some of you had suggested it when it was a little bit higher because it was in anticipation. I wanted to wait it out because I also knew that there was some more getting airdropped at the time. But I did pick this up pretty heavily around 15 to 20 area, and then I've just been sitting on it for a while. It's coming back into that zone, I would say under 20. I mean, but I don't really have a way of knowing until we can really chart it out a little bit longer term. But I mean, there's why the same reason that Blob is probably pumping up right now. There's runes coming, right? They're also doing partnerships with other projects that are dropping runes. I believe that people got some decentralized from them as well. That was part of an airdrop from the decentralized guys. That's the Prometheans. Your punch ticket was Prometheans got you. Each Promethean got you a set amount of the decentralized token. You got stuff like Bilfstone's probably going to keep going up and down. I don't think it had maybe it had a snapshot, and that's why it's headed down like this. Back to supports, and I don't really know much about this one either, but I know that there was a lot of build up and anticipation. It's some kind of a platform. But I'll tell you right now, platforms, whether you like them or not, they don't do stupidly well. Gob is doing okay. You need some more volume on that thing. And part of that is I don't think I was reading something that like a lot of people are still waiting for an airdrop, or maybe they all got it a little bit later and then started dumping. I have no idea. There was one that might have been the BitX guys. It took so long for them to like get anything that everybody forgot about them, and then when they got the runes, they just cheated it. Like, yeah. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a tough time. Manufactured by Lemon Haze. Sounds like a weed. This sounds like a marijuana. Oh yeah, I could see if you were smoking a little marijuana, this would be pretty damn cool. These are expensive. How long have these been around? A while, as it turns out. Maybe not as long as I thought. Somebody went OTC for way too much money up there at 042. 0420, baby. Because there's 420 supply. Lemon Haze is a particular strain of sativa that's kind of hybrid sativa. No, don't ask me any more questions about that stuff. Yeah, Little Pup's coming back. Yeah, there's a lot of good projects, man. Obviously, buy NBO because Loki and the team over there are awesome. Well, actually, I'm part of that team now, so I should tell you that because I am part of that team now, I am also of the opinion still that it's awesome art, awesome project, awesome leadership. So I don't really consider myself a leader of any sort in that project. I'm more of a, hey, come and watch this TA stuff and we'll chat about some alpha in the chats. Because I'm fairly new over there. And then there's a lot of other good projects. Obviously, if you're on X, you can see that my profile is a Sigma. And I'm a big fan of the art over there. And then obviously everybody's doing a rune play. They're doing a little bit more long form gamified rune play, and I think it's freaking cool. And if you don't think it's cool, then what the hell do you know? Just kidding. To each their own. But XO is another one. They're rune play, but they have a lot of heat behind what they're doing. I don't know if people are into the art that they're gonna do, but obviously rune play plus you at least get some art, add some value there. Who knows if they're gonna do anything else with that. Got the Nat Cats pump up. This was a nice buyback off the lows for Nat Cats. This was a much needed thing for Nat Cats holders. They can thank Redacted for this. This is a long form accumulation or reaccumulation. They only have 833 listed. The problem that I still have with Nat Cats is the owner distribution. There's a lot that needs to happen to get that number a bit higher. Has it gotten better? Yes. This is the problem with every DMT project though. And I don't foresee this being a problem with Redacted because of the way that they're trying to roll things out, because they're actually trying to prevent exactly this situation. Like, why is this reaccumulating for so long? It's because of the holder or owner distribution. And, a lot of people minted this and paid very little to mint it. And even getting, down here on the lows, even getting 0.025 is freaking like massively in profit. So like, why do you care? Like, keep distributing and or collecting, and so that you can distribute later. And you end up in this cycle that just sucks because it takes forever to play out. And you need a lot more demand in this to really get it rolling. And, this is likely to probably break its highs and head higher, 0.05. Probably not too far away. The highs up here, probably not too far away, especially Redacted and DMT kind of coming back into the social sphere, and the way that they're doing the mint and they're kind of gamifying it. They're making some inroads with that. Whether you like the art or not really doesn't matter. They're making inroads, and if you want to make some money, you probably want to be in on that mint. I don't know. That's not financial advice. I'm certainly going to mint a couple if I can within the phases. But they are trying to actually prevent that in terms of, making whales in this, which has been the problem in DMT, because DMT is actually pretty cool. And in fact, it's utilized in that EXO project, which is getting absolutely buried. Man, you know what really freaking died like immediately? Gumbo World. Everybody was all hyped about that. Their little beaver butts and stuff and beaver pics. And then it just freaking nosedived. I'm not even seeing EXO. Maybe I passed it. There it is. These guys used digital matter theory to... is that a rare on the floor? It looks like it. Oh no, it's a common. Why is it green on the main page though? Weird. But these are going to turn into profile pictures. They're rune miners as well. I imagine they're going to have some kind of gamified thing coming up. But they used DMT to randomize the rarity. And we can let's pick out let's just go epic for instance. But they utilized DMT to basically determine the rarity and the traits, and then help to come up with this kind of stuff. So, the mining chance and the block rewards, next reward, and how many pending rewards there is for this particular thing. Mining rewards will be halved in 2022 blocks. So, it's the way that they utilize DMT on the back end from a technical point of view is very, very cool. And I think that that's probably going to be more the future. Less, you probably still get projects like Redacted where the art is generated by the actual, by the Bitcoin blockchain itself, within the set parameters. You're probably going to see it integrated more into stuff like that, other types of PFPs or projects like that can help distribute that rarity in a pretty fair and randomized. Because as random as we try to be as humans, we are not as random as the blockchain, which still can adhere to the patterns and then also introduce or remove bias towards certain sets of traits and stuff like that. So I mean, basically what you're doing is you're just gamifying it that one level deeper for randomization. And I believe many of you can go, if you haven't already, make sure you get your diamonds from Magic Eden. You just go and click on it and it analyzes your wallet that you have connected, and then it gives you a whole bunch of quite frankly useless rewards right now because we don't know what's coming up, but there is something coming up. So hopefully not useless for very long. Obviously they're building up some hype around it. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe some of you do. Bobby says that Gob did airdrop everything. Maybe that's why. Just distributed amongst those who are looking to make some money back. They're kind of doing the floor dirty though right now. Maybe not. I don't actually know what yesterday was, but they're not putting a lot of volume on it, that's for sure. Hopefully they can do something. 6.88 sats isn't actually too bad, considering that it's 1.56 billion. It's actually not too bad. But keep in mind that like everybody looks at like, oh, the 4.85 sats for dog, and it's like, well, it's also 100 billion of them. Risik is doing much better in that regard at around 20 sats because it's got around 20 billion. So I mean, if you're going to extrapolate out like actual market caps and sizes, it tells you here, but neck and neck between these two, they're the top two. You've got if we're going to do market cap wise, you have some that are not realistic because of the supply. So 52,000 or almost 53,000 Bitcoin. That's not an accurate number. So it's a little bit more difficult to actually pinpoint. But it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even normalizing the FEU market cap is going to get you probably the 5th spot for market cap, and you're going to have competition below all these guys. And the main reason why, and I don't know what they're doing with FEU, but this market cap will not last long, in my personal opinion. They have not distributed, but I think it's like 1 million. I would have to go double check. Maybe somebody in chat knows better, but that is going to be something that is going to change substantially. You're not going to see this thing at 48,000 sats. It's just not going to happen. I think if you're going to ask me, like, would I mean, Dog and Rissic are probably already listed. Satoshi's listed. Decentralized is going to be listed too. I'm sure Dog will get listed more places. So will Rissic. I keep saying Risk because it just messes with my brain. Decentralized probably has. If I would bet, Decentralized probably has a better chance because of the ETH crew behind it. And I believe they're in with some VCs that you could probably see that one on like a Binance pretty soon. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but you know, they have the connections in industry. So does the Rissic folks. I don't know about the Satoshi Nakamoto one. It could. I shorted the shit out of that when it first listed. It was a good play, man. That was a freaking stellar trade. It's gone down substantially. Yeah. You gotta wait for that thing to like reaccumulate and maybe get listed somewhere else, and people get interested in it again. It's not doing poorly by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the big pump up in the beginning is something that always happens when anything is first listed. You got to get one is because it's either sweeping the floor or holding back supply to list for the exchange, or the exchange comes and they sweep the floor so that they can have liquidity for the listing, because they have to have, they have to provide liquidity on the other side. So you're always going to see an initial jump up. If you see an initial, when you look at any altcoin, it's the same thing. You see an initial jump up and sometimes a stupidly high wick that goes just crazy, and then you see things dump down. That's because you have to set the table for liquidity on either side, because when you first list something, all you have is sell side pressure. So you have to meet that sell side pressure with buy side pressure, and then eventually that buy side pressure runs out, because it's usually a market making bot in the books, kind of equalizing that side with buyers, helping buyers meet that supply coming in initially, and then that supply usually will overwhelm any of those new buyers. It takes people time to log in and figure out where everything is, and then you have a glut of sellers overhead, and then it pushes down into a reaccumulation structure typically. And it hung out like $4 or something, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go look again. It was Gate.io that had it. So that is. I mean, I can actually take a look at it. Hold on. Get Gate.io. I just want to make sure that it's not logged into my actual account. I'd rather not dox myself. Yeah. Make sure this is logged out. Here we go. This is gonna blow your eyes up. I can't when I'm not logged in. I can't have dark mode. But this is your typical like hang around $3 to $4, come back down, lose the low, redistribute, and you see that the volume is tailing off as we are getting this nice move back up. So we gotta flush out more sellers here, and then you can march on to the top. This actually isn't bad. This is actually a very constructive chart. I know that many are probably really bummed, and they're like, I'm underwater and it's never coming back. Runes are dead. And it's like, okay, well, this is clearly a nice low being formed here. Come back to the basis. It's testing around this previous high. If it can get above it, then you can mark up, to like 320, 450 or so, and then start looking at that $5 close up there, $5 to $6 closes up here. So you're going to see this a lot anytime something gets listed. It's just the way it works in terms of balancing that supply, trying to equalize that supply side. So yeah, hope that explains that a little bit more clearly to help you understand. I mean, it's not the listing whales are dumping. I mean, it's everybody's dumping. I mean, if it could be whales as well, but it's usually everybody's dumping. Where did you short, dog? Where is it? Is it on gate? Catcoin, it's up 11%. Okay, dog did get listed. Okay, so they got listed on gate. I didn't even look. That's yeah. So you get your listing pump was on the 25th. I didn't even know they listed. I had no idea. So you're seeing the same thing. You get the nice big listing pump, and likely what you're seeing here is if they really didn't pay for the listing, which is likely. I mean, I do believe that they're being honest in that respect. Then the floor was being swept the entire time by different exchanges, probably not just Gate.io, to list it, and then you get that list up, exit, fund the other side so that you can draw it down. And then of course you get people selling it, just normal sellers. So, a lot of people are going to look at it and Satoshi Nakamoto coin, and they're going to say, oh, it's a failure. No, it's not. It's probably going to come down and ebb and flow here and there, right? But it's probably going to come down pretty significantly before, a nice reaccumulation pump up. So hold on, I'm having trouble with my headphones here, and that's really bugging me. There we go, fixed it. Yeah, I mean, this is losing the low. So losing the low, it's headed down. This is going to happen with anything that gets listed. So what you want is listing on multiple exchanges, get it out of the way, get that initial pump and dump out of the way, come back to it when reaccumulation's over. Nice short position, by the way, up here. If you got in above, these highs here at around that 0.005. Beautiful short position. Then this gave it away right here on the 12-hour. You can go down to the hourly and see it too. Gave it away on that failed pump up to that initial sell-off. When it failed there, it was all over, baby. And this is expansion to the downside, so nothing too crazy here. Bitcoin pulling back too, so it's normal to see this reflected in any kind of alts, runes or not. You will get the outliers that will run, but it's not really relevant, in my opinion. This was a nice little move up, consolidate, move up. You want to see it come back. Try to hold the high side here. It can hold the low side by the lower first here from the 15-minute, but likely, you want to see higher term time frames starting to take over. A lot of bearish divergence building here on the 15-minute, so lower term time frames likely to come back and a nice little retest here. Bearish control zones around 61k. If you're gonna be looking there, you are looking under to this previous area around that 60,800 to 61k structure here, because there is no in move structure. So if it does start to break down from this in move, you're going to be looking under here to some of the historical structures. just right here, there's a little bit of a sell-off. Then you had the M for market maker, then the fake bounce up and then dump down. This was all still a downtrend, right? Like higher term time frames are saying that anyway. But because we are potentially seeing a higher term time frame trend shift in terms of like higher term time frame than the 15-minute, what you really want to see next is a 4-hour higher low, and you can keep an eye on the 3-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, 15-minute, so on and so forth, to kind of gauge where the areas of interest are for a 4-hour low if that is going to occur. That's probably going to do it for me today. I think that's it. Yeah. We had a taker buy sell ratio probably tick down pretty hard here in the last hour. Yep. Yeah, 0.068, and that's not too extreme, but that is getting on the low side actually. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that's getting in on the low side for the hourly. Nothing too crazy, but that is getting in on the low side. So this might subside a little bit here. Maybe, yeah, there it goes. And that, nothing too extreme, but from the daily perspective, it's fine. Not too overheated, not too overbought, not too oversold in terms of taker buy sell ratio right now on either side. So, all right, that's going to do it for me. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. Help me out with all the cool social media stuff, likes, shares, subscribes, follows, yada yada yada. And I will, if anything significant happens over the weekend, I'll do a recorded video. Other than that, I will talk to you again in live stream format on Monday. So take care of yourselves, and Landy out.